go live.
Shit.
All right, I think we are live. So let me just welcome everybody in to the Xbox 2 podcast. Sorry, we were supposed to do it yesterday. My fault that we didn't, but we're glad that you're here on this Friday because we have a ton to talk about. I'm one of your hosts, Randolph19, and with me as always we have the one and only Jez Corden from Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey man, rock and rolling. My God, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I'm glad that we're finally getting around to doing another podcast because my God, there's a lot to talk about. There's so much to talk about. How have you been, man?
I've been pretty good. I stayed up super late yesterday. Had this really like long and in-depth discussion with a dealer about a lot of different things, which was the reason I was just not in the right frame of mind, or I was just too tired.
Were you talking about gaming, or were you going?
Oh yeah, we were.
deep
No, I mean like gaming, everything. It was just one of those conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So we're doing it today because we didn't want to skip this week because, like, there's a lot to talk about.
If we skip this week, next week's show would have been 4 hours long.
Yeah, I know, right? Next week's show would have been ridiculously packed. I mean, just to give you a taste of what we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about The Outer Worlds because Jez has finished it. He posted his article and his review on Windows Central, so he'll give a little rundown of what he thinks about the game and how important it was for, Obsidian to put out a quality title, considering they were acquired last year by Xbox, and now Xbox actually has an IP that people seem to really be gravitating to. Like, there are a lot of good reviews for this game, Jez, and people are very, very excited about Obsidian and what they're going to do next,
It's a pretty good pun, gravitating, because, it's a space game and stuff.
Yeah. So there's that. We're going to talk about Last of Us 2 getting delayed, which is weird. Bethesda and Fallout. Oh my God. Bethesda is like, I don't know what the hell's going on with them. They are, like, I've never seen a publisher screw up their like image so quick, so fast.
It's depressing.
We're
gonna go into in depth because I'm a huge Bethesda fan.
Yes, you are. Ubisoft delaying everything for next year because Breakpoint was a disaster for them. Shroud leaving Twitch to join Mixer. Sony looking to sell off PlayStation Vue. PlayStation 5, the world's fastest console. What does that mean for Xbox Scarlett? Mike Ibarra finally announces where he's, where his new position is. We're going to talk about our unpopular gaming opinions, which mine triggered Jez to a certain extent the other day, which I thought was kind of funny.
Oh yeah, that was a good thread. That was.
Yeah, and who knows what else we'll talk about? Maybe even some rumors about Xbox Lockhart. That little machine.
Lockhart,
yeah.
Cancelled.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. But yeah. While everybody kind of gets into the show, since we just started, we'd appreciate it if you hit the like button, share this out wherever you want to share it, because Google does a terrible job of notifying people of the podcast. And yeah, man, let's just have a good time. And we're going to get right into it with games we played. And I'll start first on this one, Jez. I know I normally throw it to you right away, but I'm going to go first because I played one of the most unique games I played in quite some time.
It's not another rhythm game, is it?
No. It's a game that came to PC last year, and it's finally hit consoles. Came to Xbox One, PS4, and Switch, I think last week. I finished it. It's called Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
but I don't know anything about it.
Well,
so you're saying it's good then?
Here's the thing. It's definitely for a specific type of gamer. Like, not everybody's gonna like a game like this, right? It has one of the more visually unique art styles. It's like, how would I describe it? Like pointillism, where like you could make a picture with just a bunch of dots. That's how it looks like. So it's like black and white. And the whole like setup of the game is that the ship, the Obra Dinn, comes sailing back into port. But there's nobody on the ship. The crew's gone, right? You get on the ship and you're an insurance inspector, or you're trying to figure out what happened, and all you have is like a list of all the people on the ship, their names and where they came from, like their country of origin and stuff like that. You have a drawing of everybody, like a picture, and you have this like pocket watch that lets you see what happened at the like last moment of someone's life. So you essentially find a corpse, and then you use your pocket watch, and then you get to relive in a still image, because it doesn't move, like what was said, who was at the scene, and the whole game is trying to piece together and figure out who's who killed who, and like what happened to the crew. It's one of the most unique games I've ever played. I'm being 100% truthful on that.
The premise sounds similar to Layers of Fear in terms of investigation and trying to figure out what happened. You like those kind of artsy walking type games, right?
Yeah. I mean I do, but this game
It's
wasn't
not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's interesting.
Yeah, and it was made by one person, Lucas Pope. So yeah, it's out now. It's $20. I definitely recommend it. But like I said, it's definitely if you're looking for action, you're not gonna get it here. It's definitely, if you're looking also, like, it's gonna test your brain, honestly, because you got to pay attention. You have to guess at certain things. You have to know things about places and like, it's because they basically give you this like small amount of information, and you have to correctly like put down like who that person is, and there's 60 like crew members, and they don't exactly always tell you or give you like 100% of the information, so it's kind of inferred. You got to like kind of guess sometimes. So it's definitely for a specific type of gamer out there, but I really enjoyed that.
Is it like a horror, spooky?
No, I wouldn't say it's spooky, although it is supernatural, like the way the crew dies. And that's the interesting thing, because it goes in like, it doesn't retell the story in chronological order. It tells it backwards. So like when the story actually comes together, it's actually I actually quite enjoyed the story, because like you're looking at it like pieced together from one section to the next, and you're like, wow, what's really going on? And then you kind of like you have like all the chapters together, and you realize what actually played out. And I'm like, damn, that is really interesting, because I played it twice, and like the second time I played it, I started noticing things, like I didn't notice the first time through, which obviously makes a lot of sense. But I recommend that game if you're into that type of stuff. But Jazz, what have you been playing?
I've been playing quite a lot recently. I've just jumped back into the Long Dark after completing the Outer Worlds. I don't know why. I just wanted to play another first-person game again. And if you don't know what the Long Dark is, it's like a hardcore survival game, and it's really unique because it's an indie game, but they've been updating it for free like it's a service game, but it doesn't have any microtransactions or any sort of monetization whatsoever. So it's really interesting, like how long this game's been going for. It's I can't even remember. Did it launch in 2016 or something like that? It launched a long time ago.
What game?
The Long Dark.
Yeah, that was one of the first games in the preview program, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was. And they released like the Long Dark Redux, it's called, where like they revamped the UI and updated a bunch of stuff. And I haven't played it for so long, and they also added a story mode. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna check it out. Because they just added episode 3 of 5. They got 5 planned episodes in total, and I've been loving it. Like, it's the story's really great. It's got really high quality voice acting. David Hayter's in it, Jennifer Hale's in it, and who plays Shepard from Mass Effect, and a bunch of other things. And it's just been really good. So I've been playing that. I've also been playing Surviving the Aftermath. I don't know if I talked about that before. But Surviving the Aftermath and another survival strategy game. Can you tell I like survival games? You hate survival games.
I think,
And I love
I
them.
do not like. I do
And
not
I
like
hate
survival
Walking
games. I do
Simulator.
not. I do not like games where you have to eat and drink to survive. It just that those type of games bother me. Like I know Outer
Man,
Worlds
you
like has that
like
supernova difficulty where like you have to
oh
eat and
god.
drink. Like nope, not doing that because I don't. I hate that game. I hate. That's one of my most hated game mechanics is the whole eating and drinking. I just can't stand it. You know.
It's fair enough. But like one of the things that um uh I don't know what draws me to it. I like the whole apocalypse thing, I guess, and having to eat and drink kind of goes hand in hand with that whole fantasy, I think, sometimes. But Surviving the Aftermath is by the devs of Surviving Mars, and instead of building a colony on Mars, you're like building a colony to survive some kind of apocalypse. It's in Xbox Game Preview right now, and the simulations are like really shallow at the moment. But like it's got a load of promise, and if you like survival games, you like colony building games like City Skylines and Frostpunk and stuff like that, you should give it a look. Surviving the Aftermath. Um, what else have I been playing? I've been playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare today, the new one.
I've also
Have
been
you?
playing that. I do have a lot to say about that. Um,
Maybe we can talk about that after, because you've been playing the campaign and I've been playing the multiplayer.
yes, because I don't. Who cares about the multiplayer in Call of Duty? Certainly not me. I
What?
don't care. I don't care.
Oh well. Okay. Well, there's that. We'll talk about that in a minute then, if we're going to do a segment on it. I think that's pretty much it. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 MMO, usual kind of stuff. Um, I'm sure there's other stuff I've been playing, but I just can't remember. Obviously, I've been playing the Outer Worlds as well, and we'll talk about that in the next segment.
Yeah.
But
Well, you know what?
a lot of stuff.
Let's just hop into to the Modern Warfare thing.
Okay,
So
cool.
I started playing it last night, and you couldn't connect to Xbox Live. Like you couldn't play a multiplayer game. Like, and it's weird because, and I don't even know if I should mention this. You know what? I'm not going to because I know. Well, there's a certain way to actually play games early on Xbox by switching a region to a certain country. I think most people know. It's called New Zealand.
New
And-
Zealand?
yeah.
Never heard of that country.
And for whatever reason, lately, like the way it's been, it's like if you're an Xbox Game Pass subscriber and the game goes live in New Zealand, you can switch your region to New Zealand and actually start playing the game. So something like Outer Worlds or something like Gears 5 would be playable at New Zealand time, which I believe would be like 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 Central. Like really, really early. However, recently things changed to where when you pre-order a game on the Xbox store, if you switch your region to New Zealand, it'll unlock. And it's never used to work like that, Jazz. Never until a couple months ago. Because
I didn't
the
know
way
this.
the store used to work on Xbox was that the game would be unlocked and it's tied to the store you bought it on. So if you bought it on the US store, it would unlock at your time. It would unlock at like 11 p.m. But if you switched your region to New Zealand and bought it on the New Zealand store, it would unlock early. But of course, you would have to go through the hoops of actually getting New Zealand currency, Xbox New Zealand currency to be able to do it, right? However, right around the time of Borderlands, for whatever reason, you could just buy the game on the regular store, US store, UK store, whatever store you're on, and then switch to New Zealand when the game came out and you could start playing. No idea what changed, but it certainly did. And I know people in the chat are already upset that I'm giving away all the secrets. But every single time a game comes out, it's like the number one pinned thing on Reddit. Like, switch to your region, New Zealand. It works.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, don't write an article about it on Windows Central. We don't need more people figuring it out.
Well, you just broadcasted it to like
No,
a
nobody
bajillion people.
listens to this podcast. We have like 2 people watching us right now. Nobody.
Dude, like what's that thing? The butterfly effect? Things
Uh,
spread, man. Things
but
spread.
the thing is, I've told people at Xbox about this. Like people, like so they know. So it's not like they're clueless about this. Anyways, I just thought that was. For those of you who don't know, that is something you can do. You can do it. However, people get a little antsy about switching regions to play games early. They always say, I don't want to get banned. So use that at your discretion. Maybe you don't want to switch. But either way, Modern Warfare. So I went and I played the campaign right away after going offline in the menu. Thank you guys for pointing that out on Twitter because I was like, man, they locked this to you need to connect this Xbox Live and it couldn't, so I couldn't play the campaign because I don't care about the multiplayer. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go offline. A lot of people hit me up, like Boom and a couple other people were like, just go offline in the menu. So I did, and I am on level 10, and I've played the game for about 4 hours, and I'm almost done. And I gotta say, this is one of the better Modern Warfare campaigns really in a long, long time. Like, it's up there with the early ones. This is a fantastic single-player campaign. My only real complaint is that a lot of the missions are short as hell. Like, they're 10 minutes long. Like, when you actually get into the gameplay segment of it, like, there's this fantastic level called, like, Clean House, where you are breaching, like, a 3-story, like, apartment building, right? And once you get through the intro and the pre-rendered cinematic and actually get into it and complete it by going up the 3 sets of stairs, it's literally a level that's 7 minutes long. But it's so, like, realistic and tense. It almost, it for lack of better, I don't even want, I know it's going to sound weird, but it's like, it felt real in a certain way. The way, like, the game looks, and then you use the night vision goggles, and you're kind of creeping around, taking people. It just had this authentic quality to it that I don't think has been present in any other type of game like this. It is definitely it almost made me feel like what the Navy SEAL team would have been doing when they tried to go after like Osama bin Laden. You know what I mean? Like going through a house door by door with people around there with night vision on and stuff like that, and trying to take them out. Like that's kind of the vibe I got. But yeah, a lot of levels are short. Like I said, 10 levels in, 4 hours. There's only 4 levels left, so it's not gonna. I'll probably beat another hour or two. So the campaign's short, but it's really good. It's one of their better ones in quite some time. As for the multiplayer, I don't care. But you said that's all you've been playing though. So tell me about the multiplayer.
Okay, well, if anyone follows me on Twitter, you'll know that I wrote a scathing article about Activision the other week. I was pretty convinced they would have blacklisted me after that. But no, I got a review code sent, and I thought, okay, well, I'll try it out then. And I'm not a fan of Activision, so you know that I'm serious when I say this is probably like the best Call of Duty's been in since like I am a Call of Duty fan, but there are 2 things about Call of Duty that I've absolutely hated for years, and that's like the responsiveness of the network code. Like when you play games like Battlefield, it feels more responsive and fairer. And I don't know if that's just because I have to play on Wi-Fi because of the way my house is or something, but I've always had trouble with Call of Duty's server infrastructure in terms of latency and stuff. I don't know what they've done to this one, but it just feels so much more responsive and fluid, and it feels like how I've always hoped I could play Call of Duty. So that's the first thing. If you've ever had a problem with the network code and stuff like that. Second of all, there's speaking of Battlefield, there's this new ground war mode, which is basically Battlefield mode. And it's this huge all-out war with tanks and helicopters and all the stuff that Battlefield has. except for there's no environmental destruction. But it just feels like such a big step up for the game, and it's like I know not it's not unique or original or anything like that, but as good as Battlefield has gotten over the years, Call of Duty's gunplay is just second to none. And to have that sort of Battlefield experience with Call of Duty's gunplay just feels so good. And I suppose they've had to invest in the network tech to get this many players into a match and not have it lag and stuff like that. So, I mean, I suck at it so far, but it's just
I suck at
addictive,
it, but it's good. Yeah, all my friends were playing it last night. Like I was doing the campaign, Gopher was doing the campaign. You know, he's a man of culture like myself. But Maka, my buddy Sam, my buddy Gopher, James Shields, Kramer, they were all playing together. Jumped in Magic's backpack. He was carrying everybody as he usually does in these multiplayer shooters. I think he posted a screenshot where he had 40 kills. And he's just really good. But they were playing the multiplayer. Maka's been putting out a lot of videos out for the campaign.
He put out 20, didn't he?
I mean, he put out a lot. You know, if you're interested in achievement videos for Modern Warfare, for any achievements, you should be checking out Maka 91 Productions channel. He's a good friend of mine. Makes excellent videos. I'll play the multiplayer at some point. I just wanted to finish the campaign, and then it's Outer Worlds.
The multiplayer is so good, man. It's so good. I don't know why you don't like it.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just
like the thing about I'm impatient, right? And like that's why I can't play games like PUBG. It's because like I hate dying and then having to wait to respawn and having a whole new match load and stuff like that. I hate it. I'm so impatient. And like even in Battlefield, there's like a fairly big wait before you can get back to the controls. But Call of Duty is just like, nope, there you go, straight back into the match to die again. I like that because I'm just super impatient. It's just my playstyle.
Yeah,
like I love it. But like now there's a big caveat here because Black Ops 4 felt pretty good at launch too.
Mm-hmm.
And even though like I enjoyed Black Ops 4 for a bit, I started getting frustrated with the network code and I dropped it and went back to Battlefield because I was just sick of dying to lag. And then what Activision did was started putting pay to win stuff in the game.
As they usually do, right?
Yeah, after the review period. Now I was actually being shocked at how little monetization is in the game right now. And it's almost suspicious how little microtransactions that are available, and I'm sure they've announced what their plan is.
Well, they've already said no loot boxes ever. There is
this is just the thing, you see. It's like, can you really trust them anymore?
Can you trust Activision?
They told us something to that effect in an interview about Black Ops 4. And then Treyarch like said, "Oh, it's not up to us whether it has loot boxes or pay to win, you know, guns in them. Like sometimes you could get like I don't know exactly how it worked in Black Ops 4 because I already moved on by then. But my understanding is basically that you could basically pay to get overpowered weapons if you so chose. And I think that's egregious, right?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna condemn them until they actually do. But you're right. They do have a history of doing that. They did it with Black Ops 4. I think it did it with the game before that, where they waited till the reviews were out and then they introduced all the there was a battle pass and there was a season pass and there was supply crates and everything you could possibly imagine. But for this game specifically, they went out of their way to say, all free content, no loot boxes. There is a battle pass or, whatever, but...
See, I don't mind them wanting to monetize free content because they got to get paid, right? And that's fine. It's just don't treat your user base like crap, And like, I've had like people tweeting at me recently about Gears 5 being like that too. How like the game incentivizes you to buy its in-game currency by making some of its items really hard to grind or something. And also, like, the Terminator skins are like $20 or something ridiculous. And it's kind of like, yeah, we get that you want to have a live service, but you kind of have to earn your way to it to not piss off your fan base. And I think like Gears 5 hasn't really earned that yet. All they've done for the game so far, in terms of the live service, is offer tons of, things that are really expensive, like the Terminator stuff. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes over time. But right now, I'm really impressed with the ground war mode. Like the shooting feels, it's the first time Call of Duty hasn't felt just like a dumb reskin for a long time. Like I didn't really play. I stopped playing Call of Duty after Black Ops 1, basically, because I saw what they were doing, and I just witnessed Activision destroy Guitar Hero, by re-releasing the same game over and over and over. I was like, oh wow, they're doing to Call of Duty what they did to Guitar Hero, and so I stopped playing after Black Ops 1, and then I picked it up here and there. Like I played World War 2, which again was laggy as hell. And I played Black Ops 4, which is laggy as hell. But this is like, if this has impressed me. Like the engine looks great, 4K on the X.
Doesn't hold 60.
Great.
It is dropping frames in the campaign. I noticed there are a lot of times where it doesn't hold to 60. It screen tears like a mother. Now I'm not Digital Foundry, but I noticed
if I spin the camera really fast, I can see it dropping frames on the X, and apparently it's been causing some people's Xboxes to hit the thermal shutdown. Which is when the Xbox One X turns itself off to stop itself from melting. That hasn't happened to me yet.
It hasn't happened to me.
That might be because I've got the window open.
So it hasn't happened to me, but it did happen to me on Borderlands 3. I had my system shut down on me 5 or 6 times when playing Borderlands 3. It hasn't happened to me on Modern Warfare yet, and I hope it doesn't. But to wrap it all up here, like I'm not finished with the campaign. I got 4 levels left, but it's quality. It's very good.
I hate
it's just short.
That it's good because I don't want to praise Activision.
I mean, it's more you're praising Infinity Ward. Activision, they're just... It's Infinity Ward's the one who's making it, so...
It's Infinity Ward.
Yeah.
You have to, like, praise Activision for letting them make a real sequel and not just a reskin.
Well, this is supposed to be a reboot. Or, like... Because, at least I think, they're going in that direction.
Like, the engine is great. Like, it feels... It's so weird that they've done this at the end of the gen. I guess.
Yeah, but man, you need those new consoles because, like I said, even watching the pre-rendered cutscenes, like, at the beginning of each mission, I can pick out the, like, imperfections, the compression that they're using, especially in the black. Like when the black screens are, like when the deep blacks are there on the TV I noticed that stuff because it's like you ever watch like a show on Hulu or HBO Go and you can notice the artifacting or the compression technology they use that just doesn't look that great on your TV when like on Netflix I stream in like 4K UHD and it looks pristine. I'm looking at like that pre-rendered cutscene in the beginning and it looks good. Like the facial, the animation and the character models and the graphic all look great. But I can tell like it's not entirely in 4K. And number 2, it's like there's some compression artifacts all around it. It's like, yeah, you know what? We definitely need to get these new systems here soon because it definitely I can see that. But I mean, when you're in the game, plays great. Drops here and there. Campaign is worth playing. Jez loves the multiplayer, and we'll probably be back next week to talk more about, when we finish the game, and I'll give my opinion on it and review, and Jez will do the same. So
I'll try and hit the campaign this weekend, maybe.
Yeah,
but like,
well, you'd be able to finish it in a day. For you, put it on like recruit, put it on like baby difficulty. You can get through it in like 3 or 4 hours. But yeah, And next up, I guess, is Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds.
Big
Wow.
game. Like, I gotta say, Jez, did Microsoft pick a great time to buy Obsidian last year? Because I feel if
Oh my
they'd
god, they
waited,
nailed it.
and with
They
how the
nailed
Outer
it.
World has now come out, 86 on Metacritic, a lot of great reviews, people loving the game. I would imagine the asking price for Obsidian would have went up drastically, and maybe they
Oh yes.
wouldn't have wanted. It seems like Microsoft definitely made the right move at the right time, and now
Yep.
they have an IP,
You know,
which
you know what it feels like?
Mhm.
It feels like redemption for missing out on BioWare when Mass Effect 1 dropped. Because the Outer Worlds really does remind me of Mass Effect 1. It's like a little rough around the edge, a little rough around the edges, not super duper innovative, but it's got like a lot of heart and soul, and there's something there, and you could feel it in your bones playing Mass Effect 1 that this franchise could be something amazing. And then with Mass Effect 2 and 3, I'm sorry, 3 was also amazing. We really got like one of the best gaming trilogies with the most memorable characters and some of the best gameplay of that generation. That I've got that feeling with Outer Worlds. Like I feel like yeah, it's like you can tell that it's smaller in scope to something like Skyrim or something like Fallout 3 just because it's not on the like people keep comparing it to New Vegas and clearly it does that sort of Obsidian touch does bleed throughout the whole game and they clearly have tried to like bring back some of that Fallout 3 magic for the fans of that game but because it like with Fallout New Vegas they had half of the assets already done and the engine was done and all that sort of stuff but like they've had to start from scratch with the Outer Worlds and I'm just so happy that it's turned out as good as it has. And you know, it's not like this mind-blowing game that's sort of like super unique or super you know original and stuff. Like there's shades of BioShock in there, there's shades of you know Mass Effect in there, and there's shades of Fallout in there, obviously. But they've just done it justice, you know, in a time when Bethesda is screwing up constantly and BioWare is screwing up constantly, to finally have a dev just come out and say, "You guys want a classic Western RPG? Here's your classic Western RPG," and do a good job of it is just makes me so happy, you know. The game just made me happy, you know.
yeah.
Didn't blow my mind. It just made me really happy. So that I'm not going to spoil anything, but what are your early impressions like?
I
Have you
haven't
been
played
playing
it.
it?
I haven't played
Oh,
it.
you haven't played it yet.
I went to Call of Duty Modern Warfare right away, which pissed off Colt. Colt was like, "How dare you play Call of Duty instead of Outer Worlds?" I'm like, "Listen, I'm gonna be able to finish Call of Duty in 1 or 2 days, and then it's 30-hour adventure in Outer Worlds. So like that's the reason I'm doing it." Um,
That's fair.
so like I did watch some videos. The combat looks a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Like a lot better than the
The
Fallout 4
combat's tight.
combat.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's the combat's tight, and I don't know if that's the Unreal Engine or something, but the shooting feels really tight. I was actually surprised how good the shooting combat felt, and the slow motion is like it can be really satisfying when it works, because the kill cams are wonky as hell. Like it's like Fallout in that respect, because at the end of combat sometimes you got a kill cam just like Skyrim, just like Fallout, and half the time the camera will be pointing at the floor, which is really annoying. I'm hoping they can sort that out somehow. And also, like the companion abilities are like they sort of like brief cutscenes, and they take camera control away from you. They also the camera also ends up in the wall or the floor a lot of the time, just like Fallout VATS. So it's almost nostalgic those kind of bugs coming back. But the shooting itself is really tight. Like it feels good to shoot things. If you play a shooter, I mean, you could just play with melee weapons if you want, because you can tailor your own play style and stuff.
yeah,
A lot of that stuff, a lot of that stuff when it comes to tailoring your play style, a lot of that stuff does need work because it's unbalanced. I think like stealth isn't very powerful in the game. Like I just went around guns blazing and it didn't matter. I completed it on hard mode, and it was too easy even on hard mode. And supernova difficulty has this dumb save restriction. Like you can only save it on your ship in supernova mode. And sometimes I just need to leave my computer straight away. So it's kind of like, well, I don't want this save restriction in my life. So I'm not going to play it on that difficulty. I'm hoping they tweak that. But and shotguns are terrible in the game for some reason. Like, yeah, you have to like literally have the shotgun inside the model of what you're trying to shoot to do any damage, which is really annoying because I like shotguns. So they do have some kinks to work out, and also the gore's really inconsistent. Like you can shoot someone in the chest with a sniper rifle, and their arms and legs are full up. So they do need to make some improvements, but the story was great. The world is fun. The setting is great. The characters are great. It's just really exciting that Microsoft actually has this kind of IP. Like, I'm more interested in Outer Worlds 2 than Halo Infinite or Gears 6 at this point.
Mm.
I
So,
said that on Twitter, I think.
How big is it? How big of it was it for Microsoft to get this on Game Pass as well?
Well, it's so funny because everyone's been saying to me, "Oh, Jez, like a lot." This has happened like at least 10 times this week amongst my friends, like in real life and stuff like that. Xbox users and stuff like that, because my friends and family come to me because I'm the Xbox guy. I'm sure it's like that in your family and a lot of the people who are watching this show too. But they always come to me saying, "Oh, I can't decide whether to buy Call of Duty or the Outer Worlds." And I'm just like, just get the Outer Worlds in Game Pass and then buy Call of Duty outright if you can only buy one. And they're like, "What? It's really in Game Pass?" Because like there's this perception that Game Pass can't have good games in it or something.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
was kind of dispelled the other day when Open Critic tweeted out that by far Xbox has like the highest rated collection of games, or at least like the most mighty rated games out of any subscription service currently on offer. Because a lot of people refer to games on Game Pass. Well, a lot of the people that don't like Game Pass and don't like Xbox, they refer to games like Gears 5 and Outer Worlds as fodder. Game Pass fodder. $1 Game Pass fodder. It's all fodder. Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, Crackdown 3. It's all just fodder. And it's like,
you can't
man,
downplay the Outer Worlds because everyone's praising it and enjoying it and sharing it on Twitter. Like on my timeline, there's more people talking about Outer Worlds than Call of Duty. You can't downplay that.
That may be for years, but we all know more people
Yeah,
are
I'm just
talking
saying
about Call of Duty.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, but I just mean anecdotally. And like I don't just follow Xbox people. I follow like all sorts of people from all sorts of, preferences and stuff like that. And it's just like it's just fun to see. Not because it's on Xbox, but because Bethesda and EA have abandoned this kind of RPG. And in the case of Bethesda, they've abandoned it with prejudice. After, we could do a smart segue here, Rand. But it's like they've abandoned it with prejudice with games like Fallout 76, which is just like IP abuse.
All right, let's transition into Bethesda. Outer Worlds, basically, a lot of people refer to it as Fallout in space, right? There are the developers behind Fallout New Vegas, and on the day after the reviews came out for Outer Worlds, and it did very well, Bethesda, who launched Fallout 76 last year, announced the Fallout First subscription program for Fallout 76, where you could pay $13 a month or $100 a year to get what, Jess? What great perks do you get with your subscription to Fallout 76?
They've lost their mind, man. Okay, so Fallout First gets you a bunch of atoms per month, which is the premium currency for buying furniture and stickers and emotes and stuff like that. So you get 1,650 off the top of my head per month, which ain't a lot. Second of all, you get an exclusive set of Ranger armor from New Vegas, which almost feels like rubbing salt in the wound, considering everyone wanted New Vegas 2, and Bethesda is never going to make it. Also, you get a bunch of exclusive emotes and stuff like that. But the one thing that the Fallout community has been asking for ages, and I know because I played Fallout 4 for about 150 hours. I was part of that community for a while. They wanted a way to play offline or have a private server and play with their friends. Now Bethesda said, "Oh, we've heard your feedback. We're going to bring you this functionality that you've requested as fans." Okay, so people would have thought like, yeah, okay, dedicated servers cost money. That's fine. But the problem is these aren't dedicated servers, Rand. They aren't dedicated servers that are online 24/7. They're only online if a paying player is online.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Minecraft offers that functionality for free. So like if you're the host of the world, if you host the world on your computer, you can play multiplayer with your friends for free. But Fallout 76 is like, nope, if you're at work, your friends won't be able to play. So that's tough.
Well, did you also see that that it doesn't even really work? Like people are getting into these private worlds without being invited.
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Oh, it's such a cluster. But hold on, before you do, we have a question in the super chat which you have to answer, Jez, because I haven't played Outer Worlds. It's from Axel1324. He says, "Rain and Jez, out of the 10 companies in Outer Worlds, which one are you most loyal to?"
Ooh. Okay, so for those who don't know, first of all, like the Outer Worlds is like this sort of basically the premise of Outer Worlds is 10 companies got together and set up a conglomerate called Halcyon Holdings, and they basically purchased a solar system. They purchased the star and all the planets that orbit it. And then they sent a bunch of colony ships to go and colonize and, exploit the resources and stuff like that. Now, you arrive 70 years later. I think it's 70 years later. You arrive some decades later. I'm not going to spoil how, but you arrive decades later. And basically, all these colonies have gone to hell. Like, they're all falling apart. And there's sort of like this capitalistic nightmare where the corporations rule and stuff like that. And there's 10 corporations in the game. Each have their own unique branding and jingle. And like they have like their own unique products and vending machines, and it forms a huge part of the game's humor. Like you'll see people who are like dressed up as like the company mascots, hating their job and stuff like that. It's hilarious, man. And also like each company has like a different. You can help the companies, some of them you can turn against them and kill them all. Like I'm doing a playthrough right now, Rand, in the Outer Worlds where I'm just killing everyone. You can kill everyone.
Being evil?
But I mean literally everyone. Not just like killing certain factions or whatever. You can kill both factions if you want. You can just go around and kill every single NPC in the whole game if you want.
So who's the faction? Well, who's the one you're most loyal to then?
Well, oh man, it's hard. I feel an affinity for Spacer's Choice because they're the first one you meet in the game, and they're sort of like kind of pathetic and lame, and they're not performing very well. They're kind of like EA, I guess. I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for Spacer's Choice. They make tuna around. Space tuna. You'll see all this. It's funny stuff, man. The game's humor is just incredible. Make me want to go and play it now.
Well, you can't. You can't. Not for the next hour or so, anyways.
That's true. But yeah, you can kill everyone in the game. Like in the trailer, it says try to break the game. And stuff.
All right. Well then, thanks for the super chat, Axel. Sorry. And, well, I guess we just got another one from Super Panda. With ZeniMax rumored a while back to want out of gaming, could we see Bethesda sold, valued around $2.5 $5 billion, not much more than Minecraft. Interesting, because while we're getting into the Bethesda discussion, that is something I actually thought about. Because when we started the podcast, I said that I've never seen a company flush their reputation down the toilet faster than what has Bethesda done in basically a year's time. 2 years ago, they had an ad campaign talking about Save Player One. And people were like, the people who didn't like the games as a service and the multiplayer games and all that stuff that a lot of the bigger publishers tend to gravitate to, people were like, yeah, Bethesda, they're the chosen one. They'd never screw over us gamers. They always do this stuff. And then that all changed with Fallout 76, with it just continuing to be the gift that keeps on giving. So I did actually think, like, with ZeniMax maybe wanting out, with Bethesda having, maybe some issues, Fallout 76 didn't sell well enough. Then you look at the games that Bethesda's put out this year, like, I think Rage 2 wasn't very good, didn't review very well, probably didn't sell very well. Wolfenstein Youngblood, people hated.
Oh, that game was terrible.
So Doom bad. Eternal got delayed. I'm trying to even think what else. It seems like Bethesda's doing everything they can to make people pissed at them. And people used to adore them. So maybe somebody buys them. But, I mean, like I said, like, that's a lot of money. Probably, I can't just see, like, anybody like Microsoft or Sony offering that kind of money for them. But, I mean, getting back to Fallout 76, Jez, you mentioned basically, when it came out, it was basically an MMO, right? People demanded and wanted the ability to play solo or with their friends, and they're like, no, you can't. But we'll look into it. And so we're a year later, and most people have left Fallout 76. They don't give a shit about it anymore. They're done, right? And what do you do to the fans that have stuck with you? These hardcore Fallout fans who enjoy Fallout 76. Do you throw them a bone and say, you know what? You've stuck with us through the hard times. You've been here since day one. When we screwed up the game and put out different patches and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you know what? We're going to give you what you wanted. Here's your private servers. Have fun. We love you. Thanks, from Bethesda, yada, yada. No, they don't. They're trying to milk them for more. They charge them $100 for a feature that they wanted for their, like, it's mind-boggling to me.
Oh, and that's another thing. Bethesda had always said Fallout 76 would have mods one day, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, the only way to get mods is to pay for this subscription.
Right, and then what? Do you also have a chest that you can have, like, unlimited storage, which apparently is deleting people's stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the problem there is having an infinite storage chest is giving gameplay advantages for extra money.
Yeah.
Which is straying into pay-to-win territory. Second of all, the chest doesn't even work. It's broken, and it eats your loot sometimes. Because the engine they're trying to turn into an MMO wasn't designed for that. So, I don't know, man.
And you get, like, exclusive costume and exclusive emotes.
Rand, I got a theory.
What's your theory, Jez?
And this theory is based on what you just said about them cratering their reputation.
Mm-hmm.
What if, right, and this is a conspiracy theory right now, so indulge me with tinfoil hats, please.
Okay.
Everyone in chat, tinfoil hats. What if Bethesda are just being like, doing what ZeniMax tells them to do, so they can just eventually turn around and say, look, we did what you said to do, and it's all gone to hell. You don't know what you're talking about. Let us do what we say. What if, Rand? Could that be possible? No.
What if what?
Oh, you didn't even listen.
I was listening. My bad. I had to drop the ban hammer, the timeout hammer in chat. So I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Well, basically, like, it's just a conspiracy theory. What if Bethesda is just doing what ZeniMax says, and it's just so they can turn around and say, "Look, we did what you said, and look, it's all gone to hell."
Okay.
What if all this stuff is like some kind of crazy internal politics gone wrong?
So, are you saying it's maybe a little similar to the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory about EA purposefully putting Titanfall 2 in between Call of Duty and their own Battlefield to drive down the price of what it would take for them to acquire Respawn in the future, which they eventually did?
Wow.
You're talking
Yeah,
like something
something like
very
that.
similar to that?
Yeah, some kind. Yeah, man. Because every move that Bethesda's made of the last year feels deliberately antithetical to what they were doing the year before. They had this whole campaign, save single player. They made single player games and experiences. They even funded like a AAA horror game, which is like
Unheard of.
unheard of. You know, they funded two. They funded two AAA horror games, which just doesn't happen. And because people don't like playing scary games, they don't, especially Rand, because he's scared of it.
I love scary games.
I've heard that you cry when playing Evil Within. No, that's what I heard. But anyway, what I don't know. It's funny. You said I can't think of a company that's created their goodwill so quickly, and there is one company that I can think of that has done that.
And that would be
Konami.
Oh yeah, I mean that is. But Konami, they literally wanted out of gaming though, and now they're making more money than they ever have. So,
What do they even do now?
they make pachinko machines or whatever, right? That's what they do.
I don't know.
Um,
Are they actually making money now? Is it just a case of they reduced their budget so much because Kojima left?
I mean, it might be, but I mean, like they reported like super high revenues and stuff. So, I think they just wanted out of gaming, really. But this whole Bethesda thing's just ridiculous. Like they didn't even have the foresight to register the Fallout first trademark for the subscription, and a fan got the website and basically didn't have a lot of good things to say about it. Which I read read the website. Looked well made website. Looks real like professionally well done, like Bethesda would do it, but just like very, very naughty words all over the place. Like, I can't believe Bethesda's done this, honestly. And I know what they think.
So
like,
out of character.
but now people are like worried. Like, is Elder Scrolls 6 gonna be like this, or perhaps Starfield? Because you've seen the recent output and it's not good. Like, people are really getting worried. They're getting pissed. And this Fallout 76 stuff, it's like Microsoft and Outer Worlds and Private Division couldn't have prayed for better PR, because here you have Fallout, and it's like Bethesda's basically putting out their PR being like, here's a subscription for $13 a month the next day. It couldn't have worked out any better. It's you know what I mean? Like, what is Bethesda thinking? Oh, man. But, I mean, they're not the only ones who have issues, right? What about Ubisoft, Jazz?
Oh, well, Ubisoft then is, well, actually...
What do you... Their stock dropped 30%. I think it finally settled at like 21%. They came out and said that Ghost Recon Breakpoint underperformed really bad. That Division underperformed quite bad. And in fact, those games underperformed so much that they literally had to delay all their games for next year. All of them. So Watch Dogs Legions, I'm blanking on the other two that were currently announced for next year. All those games were delayed, and they cited those two games for a reason. And it's interesting because I wonder if Ubisoft realizes that maybe you shouldn't make all your games exactly the same like every one of your other games. Like Division 2 is just like Assassin's Creed and just like right? They're all very similar.
I said this because I was streaming Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and I was enjoying it a little bit. But then I started feeling like, you know what? Instead of playing this, I could just be leveling up my Division character and having virtually the same experience because the games play so similarly, and it just feels like Ubisoft treats game development like an assembly line.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have these massive teams of super talented people, but they all their games are made up of the same bits and pieces, and it just kind of feels like when you're doing that, the passion, you can't feel the passion. And I know that the game devs do have passion, but it's kind of like a situation of too many chefs spoil the broth, maybe. Like it just feels like I'm playing the same game over and over and over. And like when they took Assassin's Creed Origins into RPG territory, and that gave Assassin's Creed a breath of fresh air. But then Assassin's Creed Odyssey was just like the same again. And then where do they go from there? They basically put every single kind of mechanic you could ever imagine into Assassin's Creed.
Well, yeah, and then they took
What
all the
the
mechanics
fuck
from
is
that and put it in Breakpoint and put it in Far Cry, and they've made all of their franchises seem the same. But they're all supposed to be this like big games as a service stuff, right? But
It's ultra. It's like ultra homogenization. It's like the extreme end of like just repetitive development.
well,
And I hate saying that because they do such good stuff. It's just the same stuff over and over and over, and it's almost gotten to a point where it's it's just like they need to bring things back to basics. Like take Assassin's Creed back to its roots and like sort of almost like what Call of Duty's done this with this new game. They've sort of like they've stripped out all the jetpacks and all that bullshit and basically just sort of modernized what Call of Duty 4 could have been. Like you could never have done a sort of ground war mode with Call of Duty 4 the way they've done it with this, with the tanks and the helicopters and stuff like that, which I'm loving right now.
mm-hmm.
And I think like they need to, but again, it's kind of like, will people accept that? I almost want to play like a smaller, more focused, more stealthy Assassin's Creed that doesn't sort of try to be this sort of world replacement kind of game. And I just want to hack things in Watch Dogs. I don't want to have this sort of live service attached to the game.
That's
and Division 2 was so underwhelming when it came out. I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of it is all their games feel exactly the same. All the mechanics are basically in every one of their games, and you basically have is like, oh, it's a Ubisoft game, right? But I think even more than that is the proliferation of games as a service by Ubisoft themselves. The only one that I think they do right is Rainbow Six Siege, because they released it in 2015. They update it every year, or all the time rather, but I mean new seasons every year, but they didn't release a new game for it, right? My point is, there's only so many people playing video games, right? And like there's every single year more games as a service games are introduced into the market. And all these games, they want your time. They want you to spend hundreds of hours of time, but there's only so many gamers and there's only so many games they can play. So when you constantly add all those games in the market, something's got to give. And then you have Ubisoft themselves annualizing or semi-annualizing their games as a service games. Division 1, it's like they put it out and it's a games as a service, but then they expect you to buy the sequel 3 years later, which they did the same. Then they did the same with Wildlands, and they expect you to buy the sequel a couple years later in Breakpoint. It's like they want you to constantly rebuy their stuff, but then they also want you to replay that last game for as long as possible. And I think people are just getting sick of that.
It's fatigue. It's like it's ultimate fatigue with Ubisoft. It's like they've fatigued their open world format. They've fatigued games as a service, and they've got their own games cannibalizing each other. Like I don't have time to play Breakpoint and The Division. They're both very similar. Why would I play both?
Yeah, and it's like
In what universe did they think that was a good idea?
and it's like
I don't know.
it's like they've gotten away, like Division 2 isn't really that much better than Division 1, or the incremental upgrades isn't that much. Same thing with Breakpoint isn't like, like the upgrades or what, it's not that much better than Wildlands. Like Rainbow Six Siege is done right. It's like one game and it's lasted for 5 years.
What's beautiful?
What?
You know what's beautiful about Rainbow Six Siege?
What?
It's simplicity.
Yeah.
It's focus. It does one thing really well, and that's competitive shooter. It doesn't try to be everything like Assassin's Creed is now. Like Assassin's Creed's a stealth game, but you don't have to stealth. You can also play it as a two-handed melee dude. And then Watch Dogs is basically modern day Assassin's Creed.
Basically, yeah.
What would Assassin's Creed be like if you could have guns? It's ultimate homogenization. They have too many of these games which are just the same as each other. I don't know. They need to pull back and actually, I tell you what blows my mind, Rand, is that they said they wouldn't make another Child of Light because Child of Light was like so unique and must have been like much cheaper to make. And yeah, it's never gonna make as much money as like a microtransaction service monster. But those are the kind of games that I like to play in between the services. I was just so happy that someone asked me today, does The Outer Worlds have an end game? And I was just like, no, it doesn't have an end game, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It doesn't have an end game, Rand. It doesn't have an end game. Thank God it doesn't have an end game. It's so rare we could say that now. Even almost everything has an end game. Even Pokemon has an end game now. Like the modern Pokemon games have an end game where they just try and squeeze a bit more out of your time. We're getting to that point now where it's just like I just don't have time for all this crap.
No.
And that's why I'm so glad that with Game Pass, in a way, Microsoft's find a way to monetize games that don't suck up all your time. They can just, serve you until the next game comes out. And that gives devs more freedom to be creative, hopefully.
Yeah, and friendly neighborhood Blue Shell in the Super Chat says, Ubisoft needs a Splinter Cell remake. The problem with that is, and probably the reason they haven't done one is because they can't figure out how to do that in their games as a service open world. Because Splinter Cell wouldn't work as a open world stealth game. Sure, you could have the multiplayer with the Spies versus Mercs, but clearly Splinter Cell doesn't work in their current model. But now they got to question their model. It's like their two big games for this year have significantly underperformed. And Division 2 had pretty good reviews, although Breakpoint was destroyed. And they're gonna do a lot of soul searching and be think you know what? Have we basically run out of are people sick of our formula of the type? Does Far Cry really need loot and levels and rarity? Did Breakpoint need all this stuff? Did Breakpoint really need a loot system from Division? It's like they do that, and it's like, no, I don't think so. And I think they're gonna really have to do some internal questioning whether or not
they've sleepwalked into this.
Yeah.
They've sleepwalked into this sort of homogenous quagmire where they just can't, because they can't dial back from it now. because it's kind of like they've opened Pandora's box to this ultimate end game of everything being this service, open world service, which wants all of your time. And like, if they tried dialing it back to basics, people are almost going to feel like they're getting less for their money. Like they've sort of painted themselves into a corner. I think like they really just need to accept that not every game has to be a bloody service. Have like a couple of service games, and then weave in some unique games like Child of Light in between that don't have such massive overheads or server operations and stuff like that. Because I tell you, Rand, if all game devs think like, oh, we need to have a service game because we can make so much money on the upsell and stuff like that. If your service game flops, that all that investment in servers, in customer service, and making these huge worlds, that's a big risk to take. And I think like they've gotten to a point now where game devs have realized that there just physically isn't enough time in our lives for all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's just not enough time.
Yep.
And
We also got a super chat question for you, Jez, from Spider-Man. He says, Jez, would you ever consider going on RDX, which is Dealer Gaming's podcast he does on his channel?
I would love to. However, Dealer's podcast is at like 3 in the morning my time, and that ain't happening.
Yeah.
So unless Dealer wants to move his podcast to a more applicable time, I don't know. Like maybe I'll be in America sometime on America time, and I can catch Dealer then. But
Yeah.
I'd love to do RDX, but it's just at an awkward time for me. Like even this podcast is a pretty awkward time for me. It's 11 p.m. here.
Yeah, I believe it's a little bit earlier. But moving on to your favorite publisher of all time, Blizzard. They announced a big acquisition. Mike Ibarra is now yeah. What was his exact position? Let me bring up Ibarra's tweet. Let's see here. What was Ibarra's tweet? What's his official? He's the executive vice president and GM starting on November 4th at Blizzard. Yeah, if you recall, we talked about this last week. I think both me and you had pegged him to go to Blizzard.
Yep.
I said it was between Blizzard and Nintendo, but I was like 80-20 that it would be Blizzard. He went there. What do you think Mike's gonna try to do there? It seems like he has a really high role. He's really going there at a strange time. He's gonna have his work cut out for him because the whole Chinese thing, banning questions at BlizzCon. They gotta like ask them through like a port or get it approved through like an app or something. So what do you think? What do you think Mike's gonna try to do there?
Well, first of all, I know Mike is a big fan of Blizzard. He's kind of like me in that he's got a lot of hours in World of Warcraft, and I think a lot of people who like were PC oriented at some point at least. People just ended up loving Blizzard. StarCraft, Warcraft, World of Warcraft. They just made the best games for so long. They made the best games, and they still make a lot of really great games. But the thing is, it's like you say, it's a very strange time for Blizzard, where they've accepted Chinese money, which means they have to keep that money, because if they pull out of China, they'll have to lay off the devs they've hired with that cash flow, because that's a lot of money. It's a significant portion of their revenue. If they just abandon that revenue without having an alternative revenue stream, then people have to get laid off. It's just the way. It's just the business reality of things. And then you've got all this other weird stuff going on at Blizzard. With all their games are service games now with loot boxes and all the same old stuff, and they're Blizzard's monthly active users are sort of stagnant. I think WoW Classic's given them a big boost, but I think the problem with WoW Classic is that it's pure nostalgia play. It's not gonna have the longevity that I think, you know, a lot of people would have expected, because it's old content, man. People have done that stuff over and over again a million times already. So all eyes are on BlizzCon. So, like you say, it's a weird time, but it's also a good time for in terms of the business reality, because the rumor is that they're gonna drop Diablo 2 remastered, which is what
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fans want. They're gonna announce Diablo 4, which will obviously be massive. Um, and also there's rumors of Overwatch 2, the next World of Warcraft expansion. It's gonna be like last year for Blizzard. Like, even when you ignore the Diablo Immortal stuff, they didn't really have that much to announce. Like, all they announced was like a mobile game and a few bits and pieces here and there. But this year they're gonna like really announce a lot of stuff. So Mike's gonna have his work cut out for him in terms of like stuff to do, I would have thought, if he's the general manager and stuff, because he's gonna be overseeing the teams that make all those games, I would have thought. Um, but Blizzard sort of nuked its image. They've I don't know if they can fix that, because I mean, for those who don't know, and I think most people do know, basically what happened was at the Hearthstone Esports Championship, a Hearthstone player called Blitzchung um, basically expressed his support of the Hong Kong protests for freedom, and Blizzard's response was pretty disgusting. They took his money away. They banned him for a year, and also banned the shoutcasters who didn't who Blizzard says didn't adequately control the situation or whatever. Now, the rule that Blizzard cited was nothing to do with politics. It was just like, do not bring Blizzard's name into disrepute or something. That was the rule as part of the esport, and it's fair enough if like you violate the rules of a tournament, then you should be penalized or whatever. But the problem is that the rule that Blizzard cited is so vague, and the only like disrepute that Blizzard really that happened was pissing off the Chinese government. So everyone's like, you know, Blizzard's bowing to dictators, and they're still bowing to dictators right now, because they've given Blitzchung his money back, but they've still banned him for 6 months, and they didn't apologize or anything like that, or say we're gonna clarify our rules or anything what people wanted them to do. They just sort of basically doubled down and said, yeah, we shouldn't have took his money because he did play fair, but sorry, we don't want this stuff. And they didn't want to admit that it was because they didn't want to piss
Mm-hmm.
off the Chinese censors, because if China doesn't give a damn, if they decide you're upsetting their, fragile social, you know, sensibilities, then they will ban your company from trading in China. And for a lot of Western devs, China's become a major source of cash flow and revenue. And Blizzard can't give that up, because the cash flow from that money is just part of their earnings now, and they use that to cash flow the devs, 800 of which got laid off at the start of the year. A lot of people seem to forget. So it's just kind of like all the major devs have had a shitty year, man.
Now keep in mind,
Like,
this is also your favorite developer ever.
yeah, I have more hours with Blizzard than any other publisher by a mile.
So
I got
Blizzard and
10,000
Bethesda
hours.
are really they're really disappointing you lately, huh?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Bethesda's like, it's so funny, man. It's like Blizzard's my number one. Bethesda was like my number two in terms of hours played. I got like 500 hours in Skyrim, and like 500 hours in Fallout 3, and like 300 hours in New Vegas. And I got like 150 hours in Fallout 4. So Bethesda's probably my number two, and then then BioWare's my number three. I've completed Dragon Age Origins about like 20 times or something ridiculous. I haven't completed any game as many times as Dragon Age. And then you've got like Mass Effect and all that stuff. And which three devs have gone to crap this year? Blizzard, Bethesda, and BioWare. So it's not been a great year.
Maybe it's just the curse of the bee. Blizzard, BioWare, Bethesda. Let's just throw Bungie in there too.
I've never been a Bungie fan, so
yeah,
that's fine.
I know. But we got a super chat from Sin Vendetta. He says, "Thank you, YouTube, for not notifying me when the Xbox 2 podcast is live until right now, even though I have the bell on." Sigh. See, I'm being dead serious when I say, hey, could you guys do us a favor? Hit the like button. It takes like less than a second, and right next to the like button is the share button, and you can share that out on Twitter. You can share it out on Facebook or wherever. Because honestly, YouTube does a piss poor job at notifying people who want to be notified, whether through email notifications or through subscriptions, that the podcast is actually live. It just is the way it is. They've done a horrible job at it. So yeah, I guess while there, hit the like button and share it out. So I think Mike loves Blizzard, and he loves World of Warcraft. He loves Diablo and all that stuff. So like he'll. And considering they need to change their reputation, I'm sure they're going to be trying to do and say all the best things that they possibly can. And I just wonder, because gamers can be a fickle bunch, especially when you announce something that they want. So you have
first of all, like, it was really funny when all that Blizzard boycott stuff went up, because I think it's Jeff Grubb from VentureBeat. I think that's his name. He tweeted out, I saw a great tweet from him, and he was like, I'm old enough to remember when people said they were going to boycott Modern Warfare 2, because Modern Warfare 2 didn't have dedicated servers on PC, right? And everyone said they were going to boycott it, and then it was the most played game on Steam. So like,
well, yeah,
everyone's saying they're going to boycott Blizzard. Like, it's not going to dent them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, as soon as they announce Diablo 4, and as soon as they announce Diablo 2 Remastered, and as soon as they announce Overwatch 2, where all the fans be like, oh, okay, we'll forget what you did because you're giving us what I want. I mean, only time's going to tell, and we don't got to wait long. BlizzCon, I think,
time isn't going to tell. Like, you're damn right. No, that's not going to affect anything. Like, that Diablo 4 will sell ridiculous amounts, and no one will care about this whole boycott thing.
It'll be a footnote. It'll definitely be a footnote. But moving on, Jez.
I mean, I ain't giving them any more money.
Okay, fair enough.
I said, and it's not a case of like I said that I wanted them to give Blitzchung his money back because I felt that was really egregious. But like, and they did that, which I wanted them to do. But then it was just the way they sort of lied in the follow-up that just, I'm still mad at them about it. Because they were just like, oh, this was nothing to do with China. And it was to do with China, because Blizzard China sent out a tweet that was just like, oh, we'll always defend China's honor or some bullshit. And it's just like, you can't lie to people like that. People aren't stupid. So like, I ain't gonna give Blizzard any more money.
Yeah.
Unless they really sort of do something at BlizzCon that isn't just announcing a bunch of games. If they try and sweep all this under the rug at BlizzCon and just hope that everyone forgets and stuff like that, I'm just sort of just gonna forget Blizzard.
So Trim My Hedges in chat says, on the live shows, you have to hit the X on live chat to find the like button. Took me a few podcasts to find it, honestly. I don't really watch shows on my mobile phone. I usually watch them on my PC, and it's always right there. So I don't even know what it looks like when you watch a live show on your phone. So, yeah, that's great. Very useful information if that's true. If you're watching on your mobile phone, I guess gotta hit the X or whatever. I don't even know what it looks like, but you know what? Let's see. What do we got left to talk about? Let's talk.
Dude, there's so much stuff.
Yeah, there is a ton of stuff. Let me just drop the banhammer one more time. I already timed out said person, and he comes back with saying the same exact thing. What are you gonna do? I'll give you one warning, and then it's time to get hidden. Jez won't even give you.
You're too nice.
I know Jez won't even give you a warning. Jez just is like dropping the banhammer.
There's no point warning people because they people don't change.
Yeah. So let's
ban first, ask questions later.
Let's talk about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Scarlett, because
those are things.
Those are things, and there's some interesting information that came out about both, and we do have potentially new information regarding Scarlett. So, first off, yesterday, Sony put out a job advertisement where they basically called the PlayStation 5 the world's fastest console in the job advert itself. Now, they've since removed the world's fastest console moniker from the job advert, and it's no longer there. But there have been people talking, especially if you go to the Reset Era thread, like the next gen speculation thread, where all the, for whatever reason, like, it's life or death if the PlayStation 5 is weaker or more powerful than the Xbox. Like, people like live and die on that thread at Reset Era. It's ridiculous. But there have been people hinting for a little bit that the PlayStation 5 is stronger or more powerful or faster. I saw somebody in chat earlier say that a former 1UP editor basically said today in that thread that the PlayStation 5 is 10% more powerful than the Xbox Scarlett dev kit or whatever it is.
It amuses me. Do you know why?
Why?
The Scarlett dev kit doesn't exist.
The Scarlett dev kit doesn't exist, huh?
It's not out yet.
So where's all this information coming from?
Some devs might have like very early prototypes or something, but it's not actively being targeted right now, as far as I know.
That's interesting.
So there are target specs that devs can work towards that are simulated on PC and simulated on the higher end Xbox One X dev kit. But the Scarlett dev kit probably ain't gonna be in mass sort of. It's not gonna be out there fully until I'd say around GDC.
Well, you already have somebody calling you a liar, Jez. Burke Gunny says that's a lie. It exists.
Well, where is it? Where are the leaks?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying.
The drivers exist.
The profiles.
The
profiles. For what it is, basically.
Devs know what they're working towards, but it's still like, as far as I know, it's still on the Scarlett, on the Xbox One X Chuckwalla dev kit being simulated right now. And that's as far as I know.
So what do you think about Sony calling the PlayStation 5 the world's fastest console and then taking that back? It seems like, to me, when I first read it,
they don't want to put that mark on it in case it isn't true, because they don't know for sure what the Xbox what sort of SSD they're gonna put in the Scarlett. So like if they claim that and it doesn't turn out to be true, then that's bad on them. So they don't want to claim that prematurely, but it could well be the case that it is faster. It could well be the case they've got some sort of proprietary storage technology, which has been heavily rumored. But the thing is, I've heard that Xbox has this sort of proprietary storage technology in development as well, and I heard that way before all of this stuff came out. So, but it's all in flux right now. Like, anyone on Reset Era claiming to know they're lying.
Well, what I'm going to say, okay, so they say world's fastest. Now Sony, they've used the world's strongest console before, or most powerful console to describe the Pro. That's why I thought like the wording of it was interesting, because they've used world's most powerful console to describe the Pro when it was out, when X wasn't out yet. So like we've seen them use that specific language to describe a console. So
But
to
that's the
me,
thing, when they're talking about fastest, that's a very strange thing to say.
That's what I was going to get to.
Users don't like. Oh, okay.
That's what I was going to get to. It's like fastest could describe essentially maybe the clock speed.
No, it doesn't.
Or
it
could describe like the the SSD. It could you know what it reads like to me is like when Microsoft knew they were beat with the Xbox One after Sony revealed all their stuff at the media event, and they started talking about like 3 billion transistors and started talking about supercomputers. They tried to like make it into some sort of way where they could spin it to make it seem like the system was more.
Dude. You have to. Okay, first of all, this was sort of like, again, they've deleted it because they don't know if it's accurate. First of all, second of all, you don't market a console as fastest if you're talking about the clock speed, because outside of this tech bubble, no normie knows what clock speed is.
True.
They don't know what it means if the console is fastest, unless you're talking about loading time and stuff like that. Like if you say it's the fastest because it loads games the fastest, and you get into your games the fastest or something, that's something a normie can understand. They ain't gonna understand shit about clock speed. So if that's the marketing, PlayStation 5 is the fastest, ain't no way they're talking about clock speed.
Okay,
they're talking about
but
loading
my
times
point
and
was
SSD.
that we've already seen them use world's strongest console to describe a console. So if you're using world's fastest console to say something, there's a reason they would use that over the other one, is my point. And
over saying most powerful.
Yes, because either they don't know or they do know and they won't be able to, but they could still say world's fastest and have some asterisks and say, hey, the SSD, you load faster or whatever. And I know some people say, like Shinzo in chat, reading way too into this. But when I read the job description, I thought it read like a PR piece. Like, I thought it was interesting that they would even have that in the job description to begin with, instead of just saying, come work on the next generation PlayStation 5. But they specifically worded it like that, and they worded it that way. So I thought it was interesting enough to at least talk. It could mean nothing, absolutely nothing. We're maybe reading too much into it, but it's a podcast, and it's kind of what we do sometimes. It could mean that they know that maybe some aspect of it is faster in some way, and that's the only way they could do it. Like I said, but how it relates to Scarlett's interesting, because like Jez said, he's heard that dev kits aren't out for Xbox Scarlett yet. I mean, we've already seen a picture.
They're not in broad circulation.
They're not in broad circulation. We've seen an actual picture of the PlayStation dev kit. The PlayStation dev kit has been talked about for months. And I've too have wondered, like, hey, where's all the leaks from the Xbox Scarlett dev kit? Like, what are they doing? And then recently, well, I guess I'll have to get into back information. You guys recall what Xbox Scarlett was about a year ago? I believe Brad Sams and yourself leaked it first. Was that Xbox Scarlett was supposed to be a family of devices. Xbox Anaconda being this beast of a console that was supposed to be a premium console, and Xbox Lockhart, which was supposed to be a affordable entry model, better than the Xbox One X, but its whole purpose was that it was going to be cheap, at least cheaper than the PlayStation 5 was. And after E3, when they only talked about Xbox Scarlett and they said, this is our next-gen console, Xbox Scarlett, and Digital Foundry came out and said, they talked to some devs. People didn't like the idea. The devs didn't like the idea of Lockhart, so it was canceled. I think Brad Sams read a story about it, saying that he said it was canceled. Blah 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 blah. And I probably said Anaconda again wrong, as I normally do. But there's been some, I'm gonna say, new information, or at least rumors, that Lockhart may not have been canceled.
The thing is, I never heard or reported that it had been cancelled. It was all based on like what other people had said. So I was really confused about it, and then Brad Sams was confused about it as well. And Phil said, I think it was Phil or someone at Microsoft said in an interview, there's only Xbox Scarlett or something like that, or there's only one console, which sort of shut down the whole Lockhart thing, right? But like me and you heard from separate people, right? That
Yep.
I've heard from two completely separate people that Lockhart ain't dead, and that it still might be a thing. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any documents relating to it, so I don't know for sure. But it just seemed really weird that two people who I know aren't in contact, both came to me very similar sort of times about Lockhart, and they say there's no smoke without fire, right? So I think, but the nature of what it is could be completely different to what we expect. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be two Xboxes launching next year. It could mean that Lockhart is, I don't know, like a new blade for xCloud, maybe a new server blade type. It could be that it's a streaming console specifically for it could be that it's a streaming console specifically for xCloud. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a lighter Anaconda SKU. But with the documents that I did see relating to Lockhart did say that it was supposed to be this, entry level console. But that was like 2 years ago or over a year ago now. So I don't know. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare just crashed.
Your Call of Duty game crashed on you. That sucks.
Yeah, it did.
So we have some. Ishin Rashid says that number one, that's patently false, Jez, and that he can confirm you're inaccurate with saying Lockhart is alive. And that he says, also the reason I know PS5 is more powerful is Sony has had developer feedback surveys, which they've received feedback they are more powerful than Anaconda. You don't have to believe him, but that's the truth.
I didn't say that Lockhart was definitely back. I just said I heard from multiple people at a similar time that it was never cancelled. And I thought it was weird because they were both separate. I didn't say it's definitely back because I haven't seen a photograph of it. Unlike I'd seen photographs of, I've seen photographs of the panel, the front panel on the Xbox Scorpio dev kit. I saw photographs of the Xbox Elite controller, and I saw photographs of the Xbox Adaptive controller. I haven't seen a photograph of Anaconda or Lockhart, so I ain't sitting here saying that it's definitely happening. And if I did have hard evidence, I would be posting it on Windows Central. But we like to discuss rumors on this podcast because it's a podcast, and we're discussing the rumor that it could be back or it could be something. I don't know. I don't know if it's definitely back or not. So, like, don't get all triggered because we're discussing a rumor right now. I ain't got any money in this. I'm just having a chat.
So I figured, yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what console is going to be more powerful than the other.
I have no idea if Scarlett's going to be more powerful than PlayStation 5 or not.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sony personally don't think anyone does.
Sony hasn't claimed one way or another other than saying world's fastest console in the advert, which they removed. And Microsoft said they wanted to set the benchmark, but they didn't, they said it would be their most powerful console or whatever, but nobody knows yet.
The thing is, when you are someone who just posts on a forum, it's easy to say, I know that PS5 is going to be more powerful, because no one's going to call you out down in a year if you're wrong. No one's going to call you out. If I sit here and claim that Scarlett's more powerful and I don't know for sure that it is, someone's going to call me out on it, and they'll say, oh, you made that up, But seriously, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be more powerful or not. But I think it's easy when you're just posting on a forum to claim you know something, because you've got nothing to lose, really. And what do you get? What do you lose?
Yeah.
So I would always put a pinch of salt on anything you hear about this stuff. Unless you're a fanboy and you go to sleep at night worrying if PlayStation or Xbox is going to be more powerful. Whatever helps you sleep at night. But I personally don't care. I don't really put a lot of stock in whether a console's 5% more powerful or not. Because I'm going to play on Xbox anyway. Because it's kind of my job.
Yeah. Speaking of also Sony, they delayed Last of Us 2, which was very weird because literally they only gave the release date for it last month as part of their Sony State of Play. So it's now coming out May 29th, 2020 instead of February 21st, 2020. I believe Jason Schreier Kotaku also said that Ghost of Tsushima was internally delayed as well. And I get disappointed when games get delayed. Like I was looking forward to Doom Eternal. I like Doom a lot. Doom's not this year. It's not coming out in November. And honestly, this kind of fall has been, I don't know, very lackluster.
What if Doom is a service game called Doom 76?
Don't do that to me, Jez. So I was initially disappointed. I was initially kind of like shocked, to be honest with you. It's like, man, like they just gave us the release date. Like you didn't know, like you couldn't tell. And Neil Druckmann put out a letter saying that like they realized that like 2 weeks ago that we may not be able to finish in time, and we needed to to polish this game to the quality that we're known for, so we have to delay it. Now, some people have speculated that maybe they're going to delay it to add the multiplayer. I don't think so. I think the multiplayer is like a PS5 launch thing, essentially like multiplayer only. This is just to get the game out. But now, you know what this means, Jez? That means Ori 2 is going to get more shine now, because Ori 2 comes out February 11th, and Last of Us 2 was coming out February 21st. Now that
when's Cyberpunk coming out?
Cyberpunk comes out in April, but I still think Cyberpunk's getting delayed. I still think a lot of these games, I would not be surprised if a lot of these games that are supposed to be coming out in early 2020, I wouldn't be surprised if they all start getting delayed. Last of Us got delayed 3 months. Watch Dogs just got delayed. Who knows for how long for? I just look at something like Cyberpunk, and I'm thinking to myself, that has an easy delay written onto like October or November of 2020, or even like a year delay to 2021.
Really?
I think so. I would not be surprised. Like, I'm surprised Last of Us got delayed, but if and when Cyberpunk gets delayed, I won't be shocked if it happens. I'm just saying, like, what else you got? You got that Avengers game. I wouldn't be surprised if that got delayed, or even like something like Final Fantasy VII Remake. But now that Last of Us 2 is not in February, Ori's gonna have all the shine that month, and that's gonna be an incredible game.
Does nothing else come out in
Nothing
February?
big. I think the other games that come out in February are like Zombie Army 4 Dead War. I believe also Darksiders Genesis comes out in February. After its 2 month Stadia exclusive contract runs out.
It's exclusive to Stadia?
Yeah, so that Darksiders Genesis game is coming out in December on PC and Stadia, and then on PlayStation 4 and Xbox in February. So they pulled some strings on that one. So yeah, still can't wait for Last of Us 2. If they had to delay it, great. I'm all for delays. I've said that from day one about every game that's gotten delayed. It happens all the time.
I think like everyone. I don't get being upset about games being delayed, because like we talked about earlier, there's so much to play and so little time. And at the same time, it's kind of like everyone gets mad when a game's unpolished and buggy and stuff like that. Wouldn't you rather have a game at its best? I think it's worth trusting Naughty Dog for what it's worth.
Yeah. So, what else we got going on here? Last of Us 2 delayed. Oh yeah, Shroud. Microsoft
Shroud.
picking up a new streamer for Mixer after they got Ninja back in August, which really shocked a ton of people. Like, oh my god, Ninja, biggest streamer in the world, switching platforms to Mixer. People were shocked. Well, Microsoft, basically shot another cannon at the what would be like a pirate reference at the poop deck of Twitch, or
No, a shot across the bow.
shot across the bow. That's what it is, right? So they got Shroud, which was super surprising to me. I wasn't expecting that whatsoever. And Shroud is actually one of the 2 streamers I actually enjoy watching on Twitch. Like, yeah, there's some people I follow, and I do watch some of my friends stream. Maka91 when he streams, my buddy Shizblaka when he streams. But there's 2 guys on Twitch that I like, that I'll watch. Not for a long time. Usually I'll watch them for 30 minutes and then I'll move on. One's Brown Man, and the other is Shroud, because Shroud is a god at shooters. So, and I found him, he's incredibly cool, incredibly chill, and so now he's on Mixer, and I don't think this is the end, Jez. I think more people are coming. I think Tim the Tatman's coming over. I wouldn't be. I think there's going to be it's kind of a domino thing. More people are going to go, but then again, they have some people that are like, well, why is Microsoft spending this money on Mixer when they could be spending the money on other things? How much do you have to actually spend to get somebody like Shroud and Ninja to switch platforms? So,
I'm someone who, I'm usually like in the camp of Microsoft knows what it's doing, trust them. I'm not sure what they're doing with Mixer is smart, personally. I don't think Shroud and Ninja are gonna. I mean, they bring like some legitimacy to the platform, but are they helping it grow? Really? Like the Streamlabs stats from last month showed that after Ninja gave Mixer its like biggest boost ever, viewership actually declined by 10% in the following quarter. It didn't grow, it declined. Now it's still up 400% year over year, but it declined quarter over quarter. And if it declines again quarter over quarter, part of that is in line with Twitch declining, in line with Fortnite declining. So part of that is Fortnite declining, but at the same time, it's kind of like you don't want to spend that kind of money and then see a decline, even if Fortnite is declining. So I don't know if this is the right approach, because I don't think Shroud's audience are gonna go from watching Shroud to suddenly going, and watching other Mixer streamers. And a lot of Mixer streamers have reported that they've seen the benefits of it in a physical way on their channels. However, a lot of Mixer streamers have reported the opposite.
yeah,
a lot of Mixer streamers seem to be unhappy about it, and they say that all that happens when they're streaming is that their viewership goes down when one of the big players are streaming. And you could the number one argument there is, well, get better, be more entertaining, or make your streams better, compete, and that's fine. But I don't know if this will work, basically. And also, while we're on that sort of curve, it sort of goes against Microsoft's strategy in a broader sense. Because usually what Microsoft's strategy is, we'll go where the users are. And the users ain't on Mixer, they're on Twitch. And And the only times when Microsoft tries to do their own thing is when they feel like they can do a better job or they can do some innovation. Now, before, Mixer was innovative because it was the first platform with sub-second latency, and it was the first platform with interactive controls and stuff like that. But Twitch has stolen those now. Oh well, I say stolen, but it's not like it was super unique or hard to do. Basically, Twitch has emulated what Mixer used to have that was unique. So now Mixer has nothing that's unique. The only thing Mixer has that's unique is the willingness to splash the cash for Ninja and Shroud and whoever knows. I don't know if I want Microsoft fighting this fight when Twitch and YouTube exist. Like, this ain't something that I would personally want them to spend money on. I'd rather see that money go to Obsidian to boost their dev numbers. I'd rather see that money go to In Exile or like, the Coalition or something like that. I don't know if Mixer's bringing value to the platform. And I say that as, as someone who streams on Mixer and who is a Mixer partner. Windows Central's a Mixer partner. And probably not for long, but it is what it is. I don't know. What do you think, Rand? Do you think Mixer needs to exist?
Does Mixer need to exist? No. I don't think Mixer needs to exist. Would I rather have them spend the money on studios and all that different stuff? Of course, 100%. Like, I would rather whatever money they spent on Shroud and Ninja to help make Mixer a thing. I would much rather have them spend that in, hiring people for their studios and things like that, right?
But could there be a long play where it's kind of like, Ninja was a Halo pro? Does buying Ninja services basically sort of, will that help push Halo Infinite to the new generation audience who listen to streamers?
The problem with that though is if you look at Ninja's views now, they're a fraction of what they were. So by the time Halo Infinite comes out, he may not have many viewers left. So it's like whatever, maybe it'd been different if you waited till next year and he switched right at Halo Infinite when it came out and he was still pulling those big numbers. But I tuned in the other day and I saw he had 7,000 people. And it's like, this is a guy that used to pull 50K on Twitch. But again, it's Microsoft's money. They have tons of it. They obviously invested in Mixer. Personally, I don't see... I have friends I talk to about this. I just don't see the business need for Mixer. I don't see what they get out of it. I would rather them focus on other things. But that's just me. Maybe I know they have a vision for it, but who knows? I just can't see ever Mixer approaching Twitch. And they can buy all the streamers they want. They can get all the top streamers. I'm just not sure that would really matter. I mean, it's basically what Epic
What if they buy every single streamer on the whole of Twitch?
You know what they should have done? They should have just bought Twitch when they could have bought Twitch.
Yep.
That'd be the easier solution. When did Amazon buy them? 2016, I think it was.
Yeah. They probably had a chance to buy Twitch, and they probably didn't have Phil has access to the money now. He probably didn't have the same access that he has now. So he probably is just I mean, this has to be more about marketing than anything else. But then saying that, Mixer's platform agnostic, and they have a PlayStation show, a Nintendo show. So how does that help Xbox and Windows?
Well, see, our buddy Sub Zedox in chat says it's all a play with Mixer, xCloud, and Game Pass. Watch a game, sign up for Game Pass, play instantly on xCloud. Is what he thinks it's going to be. And that's the goal there for Mixer. And maybe it is. Maybe it'd be like some form of what Stadia is doing with YouTube. Where hey, you can, you saw this trailer for Assassin's Creed Ragnarok. You can just hit the button and boom, you're playing Assassin's Creed Ragnarok on Stadia. And with Mixer, if you can somehow tie in subscriptions to Game Pass, and there's like a button there that you could play, and boom, you're instantly streaming on your PC via xCloud, or you're instantly streaming on your phone that you have your account attached to. Maybe essentially that's the play. And,
Yeah, I guess.
But maybe it's
I
not.
I need to do some investigating maybe and see what the long-term plan is for Mixer, but
Yeah.
like it does seem like such an like when you think about things like xCloud and how it could tie in, like you can sort of try and make it make sense in your head, but it's whether that actually comes to pass or not. Like on Windows Central and other bloggers, we often try and make sense of the things that Microsoft's trying to do, like with with all their sort of failed services like Groove Music and Zune and stuff like that. The thing is, Microsoft hasn't had a great track record when it comes to coming in from the back.
Ooh.
When like it's just true. Like when Microsoft's had to compete from the ground up, they haven't had the most luck. Groove Music, Windows Phone, whatever. And I don't know why that is, but it just is the case. But if they can, xCloud is sort of like a completely blank slate. It's like a new market that's worth playing for, because if it works, then it's going to change everything down the line. And I suppose that's where Microsoft is all in right now. And if Mix is an important part of that strategy, then fine. But we need to see that materialize. It can't just be a service that is just like, oh, Twitch has one, so we must have one as well. It can't be that service. It has to have a real reason to exist, and I can't see it right now.
Well, I just looked. We have 570 people watching or something, only 150 likes. Make sure if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. It's free. It takes less than a second. We'd appreciate it. So yeah, Shroud leaving. I think they're not done. I don't know if this is gonna benefit Mixer in the long run. Maybe it will. Maybe it's something they had to do. It reminds me of Epic Game Store strategy of basically buying exclusives. Because how are you gonna get people to move from the dominant force in PC gaming and Steam? The only kind of reasonable way is either you make your own content and it's just that damn good and you make a lot of it and you force people to use your launcher, or you buy the content that people want and put it exclusively on your launcher. It's a very similar strategy. People watch for streamers. Ninja, Shroud, Dr. Disrespect. Microsoft's using that strategy. We'll get Ninja and we'll get Shroud, and hopefully that's gonna work for them. Will it? I don't even know. But interestingly enough, I don't know, Zero Games for Me just said in the chat, and I did notice this. We mentioned earlier how Mike Ibarra went to Blizzard, and how he used to be corporate vice president of Mixer, Xbox Game Pass, and Xbox Live. But I don't know if you've noticed, but he's not streaming on Mixer anymore. He's streaming on Twitch.
Yep.
That seems seems weird to me. A little bit weird. Maybe there's something behind it. I don't know, but that's something I definitely noticed. Is so you being the corporate vice president of Mixer, you're not with Xbox anymore, and one of the first things you do is start streaming on Twitch? Interesting.
There's definitely something more to, I think, but it's one of those stories we'll never really get to the bottom of, I think.
Yeah, I know, right? Unpopular gaming opinions, Jez. I figure it's time to trigger everybody in chat right now. Because I posted some of my unpopular gaming opinions the other day. It was trending on Twitter. And man, I got people pissed. One, and I know people are going to get pissed, and I already know Sub ZX in chat's going to be like, Rand, don't do this to me. But my number one unpopular gaming opinion I had was that Banjo, Conquer, and all of Rare's old IPs should never ever come back. I'm not even going to push like Cole Eastwood did, where he said they can come back after next gen. I'm saying they should never come back.
Why?
Um,
What? See, I am a fan of Banjo Conquer and all that stuff. I don't care if they come back, but why should they never come back? That just seems spiteful.
yeah, maybe I am being spiteful. I do th-
What's your
I do
reasoning?
think
What's your reasoning?
because what I'm gonna say is it's gonna piss people off and they're gonna hate me because Banjo and all these games were never good, just like Battletoads was never good.
Oh my
We
god!
got Battletoads in 2020, a game that was never good in the first place.
What if it's really good though?
It's not going to be really good. I look at that game and I see Microsoft funding it. I see local co-op only, and I'm like, really, Microsoft, local co-op only. I do think Rare is one of the most overrated developers out there. 100%. I've never been a fan of Rare's content. In fact, the best Rare game ever made wasn't even made by Rare, and that was Killer Instinct. It was made by Double Helix, and then who did season 2 and 3?
Galaxy.
Iron Galaxy. Now, of course, I'm playing this up for the show. If Conquer and all that stuff comes back, I'll be happy for all you guys. I'm just kind of playing it up a little bit. Like, never come back. I just don't want the initiative to be making Conquer or Obsidian or any of these other studios that they bought, or Playground or Fate, or like Ninja Theory. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to hire some outside studio to work on it, like Playtronic or whatever, or something
Who
like
made
that, then go
Yooka-Laylee?
ahead.
Was it Platonic?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Pixelbits G says Rand didn't like Battletoads, but he loves walking sims. The new one looks trash though, but come on, bro. Hey, you like what you like, man. You know what I'm saying? You like what you like. There are walking sims that I really like. I just never liked Battletoads. I also said inverted is the right way to play because I play inverted, and
See, now that is egregious.
But here's the thing: it's so normal to me. Like, I know a lot of people sit there and think, well, how can you play?
No, but how did you arrive at that? How did you arrive at that? Because most games you have to physically go in and change it.
I don't know.
So,
that's the thing. I don't know how I became an inverted player. I have no idea. But it feels right to me. And I know a lot of people are like, that's screwed up. Because that means you have to look up, you have to press down, and to look down, you have to press up. But I don't think about it. It's just a natural movement. You know what I mean? Like, I can't explain to you how it happened. It just did. And when I play normal, it feels so weird. I literally have to think about it. So I play inverted. What was the other one? I said Nintendo was boring, which you were very triggered about.
I was triggered about that.
They make boring hardware and they make boring games.
Boring hardware?
Yeah, the Switch is boring. It's boring.
What?
It's boring.
The Switch is boring?
It's a console that pretends to be a handheld. It's boring.
What? I'm just mind blown. You could take the controllers off and play like local co-op on the train.
I don't take the controller. It's docked, and I use the regular controller. I use the Pro controller for the Switch, like a man of culture.
You're a man.
I'm probably racking up the dislikes right now. Let's look at the dislikes. Oh, only one extra. I guess that's not that bad. I thought for sure I would be getting like, what? What was the other one?
I'm pretty triggered.
The other one I said before on the show. I said Ori's better than and pretty much all the PlayStation exclusives except for God of War, and I honestly do believe that. I know some people will be like, "You're better than Bloodborne and better." Yes, it is. I had more fun with Ori than I did with.
I like Ori, but I often question how much you like it.
You question how much I like it? It's the only game.
I don't think it's as good as you
It just happens to be the game I picked to hit 1 million gamer score with at E3. What do you mean?
I don't think it's as good as you make it out to be. I think you overrate Ori.
You think I overrate Ori? What do you?
Yeah, I think you overrate it. There's no way Ori's better than.
What you don't think there's no way Ori's better than Bloodborne or
I haven't played Bloodborne yet, but just looking at Bloodborne, probably not.
I mean, Bloodborne's really good. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed Bloodborne. I really enjoyed Spider-Man. I enjoyed
As good
Ori
as
more
good as
though.
Ori is, it's still a side-scrolling
I
platform,
don't
man.
care. It doesn't matter to me. You know what was my game of the year of 2016? Inside, for Christ's sake.
See, you've got a weird taste in games. That's your problem.
Maybe. Maybe I do.
Your ideal game is Ori with all the platforming removed, and it's a walking simulator where Ori has to solve the mystery of who killed some kind of giant bunny. That's your ideal game, and
Mm.
there's a philosophical reason why he's doing it.
But you want to know? There's a new one I was thinking about earlier, right?
Oh no! Oh no!
This might be an unpopular opinion. It might be a popular opinion. I'm not even sure. I think the Coalition should shelve Gears of War and make something new.
Ooh.
I think they next gen they should not bother doing a new Gears. They should shelve it and make something new. And you know what? You can put out Gears 6 next generation, next generation. Would that be an unpopular opinion, Jez?
Well, I don't know actually, because hardcore Gears fans are pretty pissed with the Coalition right now, and I don't think anyone. I mean, I really enjoyed Gears campaign, Gears 5's campaign. Don't really care for the multiplayer. Would I be that bothered if I don't get Gears 6 until say 2024, 5? I don't think so.
That's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
Gears is really constrained by its sort of I don't know, comic book sort of uh mood. I don't know what the word is. I'm starting to get tired now. When I can't think of it's because I'm getting tired. But like it can't ever reach the sort of emotional impact as of The Last of Us, because it's not a super serious sort of thing, you know. I don't know. We could have a whole podcast about the problem with Gears, but I personally wouldn't be that bothered if they did something new. I mean, what do people in chat say about it?
It seems like a lot of people said they kind of want the same thing.
Mm.
That they would like to see Coalition make something new. And shelve Gears for
You
a
think
while.
like they're sort of it's Halo has the same problem where they're beholden to the legacy of what these games mean to people, and like trying to like modernize Gears while also making it still feel like Gears is a recipe for pissing off someone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited to see them move forward, but maybe they weren't bold enough and they ended up just. I mean, even me, I was saying like, oh, the next one will be really good, you know, because at least they're going in that direction. Maybe they should have gone all out for the new direction, or I don't know. But they can go all out and experiment if they have a new IP, because no one will have any expectations, and because of Game Pass, they have they don't need to worry about the risk of starting a new IP. So yeah, I would like to see what they can do outside of Gears.
Yeah, me too.
I agree with that.
So
I
that
don't
that
think
was
that's
that
an
was the other
unpopular
one I
opinion.
didn't have room for. Let, I know you have some unpopular opinions.
I can't
what are
even
some of
remember
yours?
what mine.
You know what,
I can't
Jez?
even
My
remember.
unpopular opinion: Pokemon was always bad. There you go.
Ugh. Well, you don't even need to address that because we all know Pokemon isn't bad.
Okay, so
Even you
what are
know
some
that.
of yours? What are your some?
I can't even remember what I wrote in that article. Wrote in the
I believe you
tweet.
said something along the lines of like Outer Worlds and State of Decay 2 are more
Oh
interesting
yeah,
IP than Halo, Gears, and Forza or something.
yeah. I said like no. I said Wasteland and State of Decay are more interesting than Gears and Halo,
Hmm.
and that's just because I like RPGs. Really, I think like I like survival games and I like RPGs. So I know that's controversial, but that's just a matter of taste. But if I think of like trying to think of some genuinely unpopular gaming opinions I have, I don't know. I kind of like, I don't know. man. That's
Axel
tough. I'll
says,
try. I'll try and think of some seriously unpopular one.
Axel1324 says, you game reviewers about the feels now. If a game doesn't give you a narrative-driven feels-a-thon, then it's not a great game. That's some BS. I've never said that. Like, I've enjoyed plenty of games that were about the gameplay and not necessarily about the story. It's not about making me... It's all about my enjoyment of said game. So when I say Ori is a better game than all the PlayStation exclusives that I played except for God of War, I mean that I enjoyed it more than Spider-Man. You know what I mean? To me, like, that's kind of how I rate games. Like, how much I enjoyed playing this. How much did I enjoy sitting down and, like, firing up my system to play that game? Like, when God of War came out, the only thing I thought about was God of War. Like, that's it. I thought about God of War. I woke up early to play God of War. I played God of War all day. Same thing with Red Dead Redemption 2. I thought about Red Dead Redemption 2. I only wanted to play Red Dead Redemption 2. From the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed, I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2. It's about the enjoyment and the experience of it. It doesn't necessarily always have to do with the feels. It's about the enjoyment of it.
For me, a story game should be about the feels. If I feel nothing when the game has a story, then I'm sorry, but the game has failed.
Sure.
And that's why, like, I always say, like, and it doesn't have to be like, oh god, I'm crying, you know. And actually, Gears 5 did jerk a tear or two at the end for me. It's not just about that. It's about having the guts to take some cinematic risks. And The Last of Us took way more cinematic risks with video gaming than Gears ever has, you know. And that's just because I don't know why. It's like because of the fact that Gears is more sort of, it doesn't fit the tone of Gears, or it doesn't sort of, maybe Microsoft doesn't want controversy that much, you know. I often think about how much controversy Microsoft's willing to handle. And like, people are saying the Call of Duty campaign is controversial. Good. I like that it's controversial because I want to feel something when I play through a story. So I ain't apologizing for wanting to feel something while playing through a story. If I want a game that's just pure gameplay, then I'll play multiplayer, or I'll play like City Skylines or something like that. Like, if I'm playing a story game, it has to make me feel something.
Yeah, well, you know? FR Dispatch Gaming says Rand cried for Edith Finch. Now, look, I love What Remains of Edith Finch. I think it's also one of the best games of this gen. And it's entirely based, yes, of the story, because it's as somebody would say, a walking simulator. But I don't cry. Like, I don't think I've ever cried over a video game. You get attached to the characters and stuff like that. Like, I've never cried over a video game. But there is a section in What Remains of Edith Finch that is so unique to a video game that nothing has, like, ever kind of replicated it ever. Like, there's this scene, Jez, in What Remains of Edith Finch, where, like, so you're basically a girl who's going through her house, this house she grew up in, and reliving the stories of her family members that died there, right? And one of them is of her brother, who had a shitty life, let's just say, and he worked at a fish cannery where he would cut off the heads of fish. And his life was so boring that while he was doing that, he imagined this fantastical world, this other world, right? And the gameplay part of it was, so like the fish comes down the track, you grab the fish with your right hand, you move it to the right side of it, it chops off its head, you throw it into the bin, right? And all at the same time, on the left-hand side of the screen, with the left stick, you're controlling his dream, his daydream, right? And you get into this monotonous rhythm of catch fish, move fish over to the thing, chop its head off, move it into the bin, while also paying more and more attention to the dream, which is exactly what he was doing. It's something that, it's such a unique experience that can only be replicated in a video game, and it's the only time I felt that it's something a video game could do that could never be done in a book, could never be done in a movie, could never be done in any other kind of entertainment experience. Like, the idea of this kid whose job is so monotonous and whose life is so monotonous that he daydreams these fantastical experiences puts you in a position of actually feeling exactly how he felt is something that's, like, never been replicated before. Like, it is truly one of the best moments in a video game ever. And I'm not blowing smoke off anybody's ass on that. Like, that scene and that section is one of the best for all time. But that's just kind of me spitballing there. But anyways, you know what? I think it's getting a little late. Jez says he was tired. So we're going to end the show there. But we're going to still open up the show for questions. So if you guys got any questions in mind, make sure you get them ready. Post them in chat. But I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up. Me and Jez appreciate you being here. And if you're listening to this later on iTunes or Spotify or SoundCloud, we appreciate you as well. And if anybody listening wants to listen on any of those podcast app services, links always in the description. You can check it out there. Subscribe to my channel. Follow Jez on Twitter. Hit the like button. All that stuff. So, yeah, Jez, you want to take some questions? Hopefully we get a few of these. And yeah, man. Edith Finch, what a game. Thaneros says, Rand, have you guys heard any new news on Microsoft acquiring White Owls?
White Owl?
White Owls is a Japanese studio. And Phil Spencer has said recently that he would love to acquire a Japanese studio. And one of those studios is White Owl, so people have been speculating it could be them. Do I have any inside information on that? No. Not at all. Do I think they're going to announce a new studio at XO19? Yes, I do. Could it be a Japanese studio? It might, but I don't know if it's going to be White Owls. What do you think, Jez?
I have no idea. No idea. I would, like, on some level, I want to see Lost Odyssey 2, which is one of those sort of games that I know is never going to happen, but Lost Odyssey was a great game. And I tell you, while Microsoft is filling in the gaps that Bethesda and BioWare have left behind, adding a turn-based JRPG would hit a lot of nostalgia notes for a lot of people. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
Let's see what else we got here. Elpaw wants to know, did you cover Splash Damage for sale? So I don't know if you saw this, Jez, but apparently the parent companies of Splash Damage and Digital Extremes are looking to get out of gaming and are trying to sell the companies. And some people are saying Splash Damage, who are currently developing Gears Tactics, if I'm not mistaken, potentially would be a good pickup for Microsoft. Have you heard anything about? Did you even see this news that broke today about this?
No, I didn't see that news.
Yeah. I forget. It's out there. I mean, you probably just gotta search for it. But yeah, Splash Damage, Digital Extremes, and I think one other, if I'm not mistaken.
What did Digital Extremes make?
Digital Extremes make Warframe.
They want to sell Warframe?
I think it's like they want to sell their stock or their interest in Digital Extremes or something. I don't necessarily think they own the companies, but I think they own a certain percentage of the company. And they're looking.
Be a good... I am a big fan of Warframe, but I know it's really popular, and it's the kind of game that seems like it would match Microsoft's portfolio. But like Splash Damage, like if Splash Damage makes like a good XCOM sort of clone out of Gears Tactics, I would love to see them be part of the DNA of Microsoft, because Splash Damage seemed like a pretty versatile studio.
Yeah. Let's see. Bomb Hater says, have you guys played Outer Worlds yet? I'm sure Rand would fucking love that game. We talked about it at the beginning. Jez talked about it at the beginning. I haven't played it yet. I'm currently playing Modern Warfare, but when I do beat Modern Warfare, I will be playing Outer Worlds. P. Diddy Poof. Have you guys heard of the .NOD Microsoft project? I have not. Have you, Jez? Have you heard of a .NOD Microsoft project?
they tweeted or something like that rings a bell. Like they tweeted something like looking forward to our next project with Microsoft or something. Like that rings a bell. I don't know if that's right, but apparently, yeah. I think I've heard that before.
Okay.
I haven't really looked into it much,
So
but
Hazador has a question for Jez. He says, "When will Jez follow me on Twitter? His tweets make my day." You got people asking to follow them on Twitter, Jez. Will you rise to
oh
the call?
snap. We'll see. We'll see what happens after the podcast.
Shrinks Gaming says, "Who's winning the fight, Kratos or Master Chief?" Master Chief
Isn't
for sure.
what really?
No,
Isn't
I
Kratos
mean
a
Kratos is a
god?
god. I mean, yeah, of course Kratos would win. He got stabbed by a sword at the end of God of War 3 and somehow still is alive. Yeah, that'd be Kratos for sure. Fuzzy Belvedere wants to know, Jez, do either of you, or me and you, do either of you have Apple Arcade on the radar?
No.
No, I do not. I mean,
I swear, out of literally everything in the world, in the universe, Apple Arcade is probably at the bottom of my radar.
yeah. I played a couple games on the Xbox One that are in Apple Arcade, and there's some quality titles in there. My thing is I don't want a game on my phone. I don't have an iPad, so I don't really have the bigger screen.
I tell you,
So
in related Apple Arcade news, did you see that Google announced that it's going to build its first studio in I think it's Canada,
the
Montreal or something?
Ubisoft, yeah, over in Montreal, I believe, right?
Yeah.
I did see
So
that. Yeah, they were talking
Google
about that, and
getting
like
serious now.
they're coming out with Stadia on November 19th, and not everybody's going to be able to get it on day one for the people that pre-ordered. So that's kind of interesting.
I tell you, like, I do rail on Apple a lot, but if at the end of the day, the Apple iPhone, iOS store is like the number one place where mobile devs make money. Like, even though like Android is bigger by miles, devs don't really make money on Android. They make it on iPhone. So like, if Apple can spread some of that wealth and it leads to creative experiences for indie devs and stuff like that, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. Mr. Gamer wants to know, do you speak Persian? I do not. Jazz, do you speak Persian?
Nope, I barely speak English.
Mm.
Next.
Ryan Landis wants to know, is there any changes you'd like to see to next-gen controllers? Maybe paddles as a standard? Any changes? Yeah, there is one change that I would like to see. I would like to see the addition of a share button on the Xbox controller. I know there's one on the PlayStation 4 controller, and there's one on the Nintendo controller. There needs to be one on the Xbox controller. 100%.
You can bind the Elite 2 paddles to screenshot and record this. FYI. And I don't know if that's exclusive to the Elite version 2, but I currently have two of the paddles bound to those functions. I mean, it's nowhere near as good as Sony's implementation, but it's something at least. But yeah, they need to improve that for Scarlett. Like, sharing content is like,
Yeah, it's going to be important. It's going to be important. I mean, it's already important, and it kind of took them a while to get into that. I just don't really see how you improve upon these controllers that much more. I mean, you're already like, I don't think you can ship Scarlett with an Elite controller because that's just too expensive, and I don't want to like get a chat pad so I can just record and stuff. Like, it's easy enough to actually hit the guide button and go over there and record, but I'm just saying, like, it should be on the controller. Like, if that's important.
The thing is, like,
so.
they need to work with the operating system team to make that happen, because it ain't just like on the PlayStation controller. It's not just the button that does everything. Like, Sony has a really great fast UI that lets you share things really quickly off their dash. So like, they need all of that stuff that PlayStation has right now.
Yeah. And I think that was the last question, so that will be it for the podcast, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button before you get out of here, and subscribe to the channel. The link to Jez's Twitter and my Twitter, everything's in the description below. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks to everybody who's listening to this later on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate it. And we will be back next week Thursday or Friday, probably most likely Thursday, with another episode of the Xbox 2. Later, guys. Have a good one.
Take care, everybody.